Hello and welcome to the Garden Shop How to Garden video. In this video we want to show you the process involved in tinning out your summer and autumn cabbages. So we have here in front of us our plug tray with our seedlings that are now 2 weeks old. So the date that we sowed this was 2 weeks ago, so you can see our seedlings have grown quite a bit in a short space of time. So we're now into the end of March. And really, for your seedlings to develop, they need three things. They need moisture, they need heat, but most importantly in springtime they need light. If they don't get enough light, they grow quite tall and spindly, and in this case these are relatively okay. You can see this guy here is probably too tall and spindly. He's that tall because he's reaching towards the light levels weren't high enough, and he's grown too big and too long, making him top heavy and difficult to handle, difficult to transplant. But in general the rest of them are of a good size. So we really just sowed one row last 2 weeks ago, and now what we want to show you is the process involved in tinning out your seedlings. So tinning out the seedlings of your summer and autumn cabbage happens once your seedlings have emerged, and what we want to do is just select the weaker seedling and remove it. In certain cases you could possibly plant on your seedlings if you want, so we might actually do that as well. I'll just water the next row as I go. So we have here is a summer and autumn cabbage. I have here behind that a row of lettuce. I'm going to then sow my transplants of my cabbage in the next row, and then I'll probably sow a row of lettuce again after that. So in time this plug tray will be full. So what I'm just going to do now before you handle your transplants is to give your soil a good soaking. Okay. So as I said, these seeds were sown 2 weeks ago in mid-March, and now we're coming towards the end of March and it's time to transplant them on. So we'll give them a good soaking first. Now the reason why we tin them out is so that you just have one seedling per plug cell, and then each of these plug cells will have one seedling which will be about 10 centimeters in height, and which will be ideal for transplanting on into the vegetable garden itself. So I'll just see now if it's possible to prick out and transplant our seedlings. So firstly I'm just going to make a small hole in our compost, just to make space for our seedling roots just to fit into. So to do this you can use a pen or a dibber. Okay, just making a nice hole there in the mold. And now I'm just going to remove the weaker of the two seedlings from the pot. So you really just want to hold, when you're transplanting or pricking out, you want to hold your seedling by the leaf and then get underneath it and give it a little lift really with your dibber. Just pressing the soil back in around the seedling that we like. Okay, we have it now. I'm holding it by the leaf. If I was to hold it by the stem, I could do damage to the plant. If I squeeze the stem too much, I'm stopping the flow of nutrients from the roots to the leaves, and vice versa, the movement of food from the leaves down to the roots, which would effectively kill the plants. However, I'm holding it by the leaf. If the leaf was to fall off, we still have 2 more leaves here which will continue to grow and keep the plants alive. So therefore you're causing the least amount of harm by holding it by the leaf. So I have it here now, and I'm just going to place it down into the compost, into the hole I've prepared, and then just press it in. When you have seedlings that are slightly top heavy, you can plant them just a little bit deeper into the soil so that they're not very long and spindly. If required, just add another small bit of compost around the top of your seedling. So we'll continue this process as we go along. Just going to make a hole in the soil, and then I'm going to pick out the weaker of the two. In this case it's actually the smaller of the two. Okay. I've lifted him out now. So the seedling I've left here and here, they're a nice size. They're not very tall, but they are large enough that they have developed 2 good sized leaves and on a relatively short stem, which is more suitable for your seedlings. Again, a small bit of compost around it. Okay, and then we'll go again. I'll just pick the weaker of the two. In this case it's the smaller one. And again I'm just using a dibber to get underneath the soil, to get underneath the roots. So I'm not really pulling at it at all, I'm just getting this dibber to actually lift the seedling up out of the soil. When you've done that, be sure to press in the compost around the existing seedling. And again I'm holding it by the leaf, minimizing any disturbance to the stem and to the roots, and getting it straight back down into the soil again, into a wet, moist compost. One thing I should say is that we have the sun shining in on us now. Ideally any transplanting should be done in shady conditions so that the roots don't dry out at all. But really we're just lifting straight up and putting straight back into the soil again. So I'll just do one more now for the sake of this demonstration. Again, you can see in this case I'm going for the larger of the two seedlings because I think this guy is a little bit top heavy. So when I do this, I'm trying not to disturb the other seedling. A good bit of compost is coming here. So you can see the length of the root here on this guy is quite long. So I need to make quite a large hole here just to get him into. And I just want to make sure his root goes all the way down into it. So what we want is to disturb the roots as little as possible. And also in the case of this guy, he's top heavy, I'm just going to push him down a little bit further into the soil. And again, holding it by the leaf only. And then press this guy back in again. Okay. Now this is the process of what's called pricking out your seedlings. What you could do alternatively is you can simply, if you just want to thin out and not to reuse your seedlings, you can just select the one that's least healthiest, pull it out and dispose of it. And what you're finishing up with then is one seedling per cell. In about 4 weeks time, your seedling should be about 10 centimeters in height and should be large enough then to simply remove by pushing underneath the plug tray. You just push here and the entire compost and root ball should pop up out of the plug, and then you'll have a plug plant which is ready for transplanting directly out into the vegetable garden. So we're dealing with brassicas here, so the cabbage family, they like fertile, moist, deep soil that's been well dug over with farmyard manure. And that's the process really in this video. We just wanted to show you the process of how to prick out or tin out your cabbage seedlings from thegardenshop.ie.